Thanks for joining us again. Session number 2. We're going to talk about communication apps today within the Microsoft 365 suite. So hang tight, we're just going to let people come in. I can see there's already a few people in here. But while we're waiting, let's go through this. So if you were here yesterday, you would have done this already, but if you didn't and this is your first session, we're just going to go through a quick little survey to see where you are on your Microsoft journey at the moment. Just point your camera at the QR code and hopefully, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device, you should get a link to a Microsoft Forms site. Pop into Microsoft Forms. There's only about 5 questions in there, and what everyone likes is that it is anonymous. So, feel free to write comments in there. No one's going to be able to trace who you are. But hopefully we'll get a better idea of where you are on your Microsoft journey and how these sessions might be able to fit in with your requirements. The link is going to be available, as in the QR code is going to be on the slides that follow as well. So even if you miss it or you don't know what we're talking about, there will be a QR code on the following slides and you should be able to do the survey through those as well. In terms of what we're doing, so just a quick few housekeeping tasks. The way the session is structured is that we'll start with an introduction to Microsoft 365 and then dig into the communications apps. The Microsoft 365 content is similar to what we've discussed yesterday, so my apologies already if you were here yesterday and you've seen it, but we do have some new attendees today, so this will be for their benefit, just to understand what we're talking about. And then right at the end, I've got about 10 minutes penciled in for some Q&A, but Q&A is already open. So if you do have any questions throughout, just pop them in and then, I'll circle back and grab them as we get to the end. The other option is to send those questions anonymously. So you will have that in your Teams there on how you can do it. So you don't need to put your name next to it, but yeah, I will get to the questions at the end. And something I forgot to mention yesterday is that you should be able to view these sessions after they've ended as well. So as long as you've got the meeting invite in your calendar or in your Teams, if you click back into it even after the session's over, you'll get the recording of the entire session. If you have any issues with that, feel free to contact us and we'll have that up on the website as well for you to view. We can send you a link to that. All right, so let's begin. So yes, good day everyone. This is me, Akshay Apte. I'm a technical consultant here at CPIT. And as you might have guessed from the accent, I'm not from around here, a little bit further away, Melbourne, but Melbourne not close to Nottingham here, Melbourne, Victoria in Australia. So apologies if there are issues with, what I said yesterday, data and data, router and router, things like that, but, bear with me on that. What I do here is I work within the Modern Workforce team, and my role is basically to understand how your business works and then show you how you can leverage technology, whether you be paying for it already or whether it be new technology, and how you can apply that to streamline business processes, and in general, just work more efficiently, smartly, and smoothly. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover in these Power Hour sessions. We've got 4 through the week and we're done with the first one, so productivity is done. Hopefully some of you were on that session yesterday and you got something out of it. Today we're going to focus on the communication suite, and I'll talk a little bit about these suites in the next slide, but that's focusing on Teams. Everyone's been using that, and here we are using it now. The People app, or you might know it as Contacts, Outlook, and Yammer. Most people don't know what Yammer is, or they've looked at it and gone, oh, I don't really know what that is, I'm going to move away from it. But we will cover Yammer towards the end of this presentation. Presentation leads on to the next one. So tomorrow is the presentation suite. So we're going to look at all the apps that you can use to present things. So that's Sway, PowerPoint, and Stream. And to finish it off, I'll be joined by our in-house Power BI and data expert, Steve Strang. And we're going to go through the data, AI, and automation suite, which includes Flow, Excel, Delve, Forms, Power Apps, Power BI, and My Analytics. So that's the structure for the program for this week. First things first, what is this Microsoft 365, and wasn't it called Office 365? So yes, you're right, it used to be called Office 365, but as of the 21st of April, Microsoft have renamed some of the products within their suite and changed that to Microsoft 365. So basically what they've done is they've renamed the consumer and small business plans of Office 365 and they've called it Microsoft 365. The only ones that retain the Office banner are their enterprise products. So you might know I don't know if you've heard of it, but in case you have, Enterprise E1, E3, E5, those products still are called Office 365. Nice and easy way to differentiate is anything that has the Microsoft banner is either for consumer use or for small business use, and anything that has the Office banner is enterprise grade. And Microsoft's definition of small business is anything below 300 licenses. So if you are below 300 licenses, you could pretty much get away with using any of the products under the Microsoft banner. There are a range of products, so you will find things that are common to small business and enterprise, and obviously that's things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but some of the extended feature suites, so there are extended security features under the EM&S banner, and then Windows 10 by itself. What Microsoft have done is they've combined those along with the Office offering into this Microsoft 365 product. So the main product that we're looking at is Microsoft 365 Business Premium, and this includes Office 365 applications, so that's your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., as well as the security features of EM&S, and then a Windows 10 license, and that's all bundled under that Microsoft 365 Business Premium license. There's probably 10 or 12 other flavors of Microsoft 365 licenses, and if you want to know more, just jump on our website here and you'll have a full list of obviously the basic small business products, but also links to further details on the Microsoft site. Right, so that's Office 365. We're going to look at this slide, and this one is one of my favorites because it kind of highlights everything that Microsoft has to offer on one page. We're looking at Productivity Suite, Communication Suite, Presentation Suite, and Data AI Automation Suite in these sessions, but then there's also a little section there called the Extended Suite. Now, my apologies if you've got a smaller screen, or if you're viewing this on a tablet and it is too small for the screen. Obviously, you will have a recording, so you can sort of go back into it, but if you need links to some of this, just get back in touch and I can send you these images as well. Now, what this shows you is just the extent of everything you get when you pay for a licensed copy of Microsoft 365. Whether this suits you or not, you know, I don't know, and I need to know more about your business to tell you if it does, but that's the aim of these sessions, is to go through the apps within this wheel and then explain what they do, and you might take something away from it and go, actually, I didn't know that existed, or that, hang on, I didn't know I was paying for it, but I can use this within our organization, and I think people will get, you know, good mileage out of it. So hopefully you'll take something like that away from these sessions. Just sort of going through each one. So we've done productivity yesterday, and that was your standard apps like, you know, Word, Calendar, Planner, Tasks to Do, OneNote and OneDrive. Today, obviously, we're focusing on Teams, People, Outlook and Yammer. Tomorrow we'll go through Sway, PowerPoint and Stream. I'm going to skip that little red block there for SharePoint and move on. And then on Friday, we're looking at My Analytics, Power BI, Power Apps, Forms, Delve, Excel, Flow. The extended suite is something we're not going to talk about, and that's only because these aren't directly covered under your Microsoft 365 license. There are apps that Microsoft offers, so Project, Visio and Dynamics 365, but you do need separate licensing to access all of these. So the reason they're in this slide is because they talk to everything that's, or most of the things that are on the wheel, and you can collaborate and share content between the apps. And so in that sense, they are part of the family, but they're extended in the sense that you need to buy a separate license in order to use them. The one app that's in that slide that you don't need to pay for is MileIQ, but we've had to put it there because it doesn't really sit in any of these other suites. And what MileIQ is a mileage tracking application. So if you have people out on the road, you know, sales staff that drive and need to keep track of their mileage, it's a nice little app that you can download on your phone, uses your GPS, learns your journeys and your frequent travels and lets you classify them, and then gives you a nice report at the end of the week or at the end of the month to say, you know, here's what you've been doing, here's where you've been driving, and then also will calculate your mileage for you. So it saves you doing a lot of that work manually. Going back to that little red sliver that we haven't discussed, which is SharePoint, the reason it's not in any of the other suites, but is in all the other suites, if that makes sense, is if you notice the red from that little pipe section goes all the way around the circle. And what that's showing you is that SharePoint extends across all of these apps and is essentially the backbone for data storage for a lot of the apps within the Microsoft 365 suite. So that's how SharePoint fits into the big picture. Cool. All right, so that's the wheel slide. Let's go straight into what we're doing today. So the communication suite, Teams, People, Outlook, and Yammer. We're going to start with Teams because that's the hot topic for the day and everyone's been using this. What was the latest statistic was something like 75 million daily Teams users around the world, and that was up, I think, something like 70% from the same time last month. So obviously that A, shows you how many people already have a Microsoft 365 subscription, but B, how important Teams has suddenly become for us to keep in touch and continue working like we're used to. What are the features in Teams that we're going to look at today? So I'm not going to give you a basic run through of Teams. I'm going to focus on certain aspects that you may or may not know. And the thing to note as well is, and I should have clarified this earlier, is these sessions are meant for people that are looking at these products from a absolutely beginner level. So I'm not going to address people that are power users of Excel, for example. I'm not going to talk about pivot tables and how you use formulas in Excel. I'm not going to talk about things like, you know, creating SharePoint libraries and lists. This is sort of more focused towards people that may not know all the apps in the suite, but also give you some hints and tips for apps that you use quite often, like Word and Excel and Outlook. All right, so what we're looking at today. First thing, we're going to look at the power of shortcuts, and I love using some of these because they just speed up my day-to-day stuff by, if I can save, you know, 5-10 clicks around when I'm doing things, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy to kind of find these shortcuts and use them. We're going to look at mentions and how we can reach team members directly using the at mentions. One of my favorite things is creating test teams and creating my own personal space within Teams. And that leads into point number 4, which is, you know, how can you make Teams your home? How can it be the one app that you use and literally funnel everything that you do into this one location? And then the last thing we'll talk about is, you know, so much more, because there is so much more in Teams. And I could literally spend the rest of the hour talking about it, but I'll try not to. So let's move into the first one there, the power of shortcuts. Okay. We're going to go through some of these demo examples. So what we've got in here is just a standard team setup, and we're going to talk through the command bar up here. So what we can do is click into this, type the little slash there, and that's going to bring a list of all the commands that we can use in here. Obviously, you can set your status using some of these. So, you know, things like /available, away, BRB, busy. Very easy to just change your status from just using that. You can click on it and there you go, your status has changed. You've got the yellow clock next to your name and status is now BRB. You can then do the same thing if you want to go back to being available, just type /available and you're back to being green again. The other things in here, so let's look at call. What have we got down here? We'll go into activity first and just look at what we've done. So activity is anything that we've done with certain members in the team. So Enrico, this is what I've shared and this is how we interacted with Enrico. If we now go to calls, you can call someone directly from here. So rather than finding them, then clicking on their name, then clicking the call sign, if you do this directly, you're going to call Lynn. Cool, she's going to voicemail, so let's leave that. Next thing is chat, and you can do exactly the same thing. So I can go chat and chat with Enrico and send him a message here. So there we go, hello. And that's going to send Enrico a message. So as you can see, if I click into Enrico's profile there, there's my message to him, nice and easy. What else have we got? We can go into DND, and that's going to set your status to do not disturb. So it's going to stop any sort of annoying messages from popping up. If we go into files, that'll bring up any documents that we've shared or we've worked on recently. We can then go into go to, and that goes straight into a team or a channel. So quick shortcut to go into different locations within Teams. We can then use keys, and this is one of my personal favorites because if I forget what the shortcuts are, I can just use /keys, and that'll show me a nice little picture. There we go, with all the keyboard shortcuts. So I can type all of these things and type these keys to just do different functions within Teams. Ones that I use all the time, and most of you will benefit from these, is changing your mute and your video. So toggle mute, Control-Shift-M, so turn your microphone on and off, and toggle video, so Control-Shift-O. Use this all the time when I realize I'm the only person in a group call that has my video on and everyone else is too shy to do it. So, you know, Control-Shift-O, there you go. I can hide as well. As you can see, there's a full list of what you can do here, and /keys will bring you into it. So you don't need to remember them, but it's handy. If you go into /org, now what this does is it gives you a nice little org chart. The information here is picked up from what's called your Active Directory, so your IT administrators need to have the right information in order to generate this sort of org chart. So what this is telling me is that Joanna here is reporting, she's a senior engineer, and it's picked up that title from Active Directory. As you can see, all her other details are on there. And again, this is information from AD as well. And we know that Lee's her director and her manager, and Patty is Lee's manager. So if all of the information is in AD, it can generate these nice little org charts for you. If I then go /pop, and what this is going to do, it's not going to start playing any pop music. It's going to pop out the chat into a separate window. So I can have this open and move this to the side and keep working on my chat with Enrico while I'm doing other things within the main Teams interface. The other thing I've got in here, and the last one, is test call. Now, test call is really handy for when you want to just check if your microphone's working, if your speakers are working. And if you use Skype back in the day, Skype used to have a test call feature. So this does exactly the same thing. If you click test call, it'll ring the test call service. It'll let you record a short message after a beep, and then it'll play that message back to you so you can test whether your microphone's working or not. Cool. So those are the different shortcuts that you can use. The next thing we're going to look at is at mentions. And you know, this is mainly for how I would actually talk to people. So rather than, you know, if I wanted to say talk to Alex, I'd normally go into chat, I would click on Alex, and then I'd send him a message. So rather than kind of, you know, spending 3 clicks in going to that section, if I'm working in another team or I'm doing something else, and I just want to quickly send a message to Alex, I can just go up to the top here, type in @Alex, hit the enter key or click on it, type my message. So we're just going to go, there we go. All right, quick one for you, and press enter, and that sends the message to Alex. It says here you can press enter, so if I press enter again, it's then going to take me to that chat. So rather than clicking into his profile, then typing the message, and then switching back to the window that I was in, I can do this quickly from the command prompt, send him a message, and then if I want to follow it up, I can press enter again, and I'll drop into this chat with him. The next thing here is to use test teams. Now, I use this a lot, and it's mainly for sort of testing out the different features within Teams. if you try and do something within a public team, generally everyone in that team sees the notification. You know, say you've messaged a bot or you've tried to do something, you've changed your status, and everyone within that team can see it. So if I want to test all of these features out without publicly doing this in a proper team that's been set up with my colleagues, what I can do is create a test team, which is just for myself, and then I can run through some of these things within that test team. The caveat here is that this feature needs to be enabled by your admin, because depending on how your teams has been set up, your admins can lock down who can create teams. So if you are in a situation where your organization has blocked you from creating new teams, you might have to contact your admins and get them to create a private team for you, but it's something that they should be able to do quite easily. I also use it for things like leaving myself reminders, so I can just type a message in there and set myself a reminder, or save my bookmarks to websites that I like to use or things like that. But yeah, how would we go about doing that? So as you can see from here, I'd click on join or create a team. I'll go create team and build it from scratch. And I want to be the only member, so I'm going to make it a private team. And let's call this for my eyes only, and then hit create. Literally, that's how easy it is. So if you have access to do this, 2-3 clicks, and you've got your own team. You can add other members into it if you want to test things with other people. So say you wanted to see how Planner works in Teams, but you want to share that plan with another colleague to see how you can assign tasks. You can then add that colleague into this private team, create a Planner tab, share it with them, and then do some experimentation that way. So that's how you normally create a team. The next thing there is making it your home. Number one, why would you need this? Why would you want to make Teams your home? Personally, when I sort of go into the office or when I work from home, what I see myself doing a lot is collaborating with the account managers at CPIT or with my clients, and that's usually over Teams, using shared documents, sort of collaborating, co-editing those documents. And then the only thing that I do outside of Teams is probably use Outlook, so contacting customers, clients, whoever, and then I need to access websites. So usually it'll be Microsoft CSP, partner portals, licensing websites, and things like that. But there are fixed sort of websites that I need on a daily basis. So usually when I work, rather than having Teams open for my Teams conversations, Outlook open for my emails, and a web browser open for my websites, how could I then just use Teams to provide all those services in the one location? Can I use just the one app? And the answer is you can, kind of. So this is a workaround, but Microsoft are kind of refining the product, and you would have seen updates for Teams come through almost weekly these days. But what you can essentially do is add different apps into Teams, and Outlook is one of those apps that I'm hoping Microsoft will release soon enough that you could then add Outlook as a proper app within Teams. And what I mean by that is it'll sit in that left column under like your activity, chat, Teams, calendar, etc. Outlook will just be another app that sits in there. While that's not available now, there are workarounds on how you can do it. So up here, if I click on the little plus sign, I can add a website. And I'm going to use the web interface for my email, so Outlook for Web, to add my emails into Teams. So the URL to get to it is outlook.office365.com. I'm going to pop that in. And because it's using single sign-on and it knows my username and password, as soon as I do that, it's going to load up my inbox. I can then do the same thing with those websites that I was telling you about. So let's just use the Microsoft website as an example. I'm going to call that tab Microsoft, just HTTPS www.microsoft.com, and hit save. And that's going to add a new tab for Microsoft. So there you go, it's loaded the website. And what that lets me do is I can then go into work, or work from home, whatever, launch Teams, and essentially anything that I need to do is within this one application. I could also add tabs to Excel files or PowerPoint files that I need to work on. And again, this is using my own little private channel, so this doesn't affect the rest of the people in the organization, but this becomes my go-to location for when I come in the morning or when I start my workday. The other thing that this will really help with is, say I was working, say I was on holidays, and I had to kind of jump in and check a few things for work, but I don't actually remember the link that I need to go to access a particular application. Say we've got a payroll application, and I need to go and access my payslip. If I then add that into my Teams as one of these tabs on the top, I could log into Teams from any device. So I could use a tablet, I could use a mobile phone. As soon as I log into Teams, if I go into this private team that I've set up for myself, the link to that payroll application will be available to me. So I don't need my work computer per se to access those devices anymore. You might then think, how does that work with security? Exactly the same as it would work with your work PC or Mac. Your security is still reliant on your Office 365 security. So whether that's two-factor, whether you've got multi-factor, you'll still need to do all those things in order to access the Teams application. And then once you're in that app, then you've got access to all the other resources that you need. So personally, I find this is a really handy tool to be able to access different things really quickly. Hopefully that might be something useful to you guys as well. Those are kind of the main things that we're going to touch upon, but obviously, you know, there's so much more in Teams, and, you know, let's sort of quickly go through some of the other things that you can do. One of the really new things that's out, and it only released in the UK back in October, is Teams Business Voice. And what that is a fully featured phone system that lives within Teams. So obviously you can use Teams to make calls between your organization, you know, people that are in your team. You can use it to set up meetings with people outside your organization. Again, that's a setting that needs to be changed by your admins, but provided you've done that, you can then host these sorts of live events. But what if you actually want to get rid of, you know, the desk phones in your office, for example? What if you want to provide a cheap way for people to use a company paid telephony solution without giving everyone a mobile number? Teams Business Voice kind of does that for you, because what it does is it gives you essentially a phone number that's tied to your Teams and your login. It also has a fully functional reception grade PBX and, you know, IVR system, so you could replace your reception console with Teams Business Voice as well. And what it does is it as an end user, it gives you a direct phone number, but you access it through your Teams app. So if someone called you using that number, which will look like a normal landline number to them, it'll ring in your Teams app as if you were receiving a call in Teams. You can use the same method to call out. Rather than just selecting their name from a contact, you'll get a dial pad. You can type in people's numbers, you can dial numbers the old-fashioned way, or if you've saved them as a contact, you can ring them directly. But it allows for that internal, like external telephone usage just through the Teams app. So if you wanted to replace everyone's mobile phones, for example, at work, people would still need to have the Teams app installed on their personal device, but any phone calls you make and receive will just ring in the Teams app and use the data connection for them. The next thing is app integration. So this is kind of what I touched on earlier, is there are so many apps out there in the app marketplace already that talk to Teams directly. So, you know, if you're using subscription services, for example, you know, things like Trello or Wrike or Evernote or Adobe Creative Cloud, all of those apps are already available in Teams, and you can integrate all of them into Teams. So, you know, you can send notifications and you can share different application dashboards and things like that through Teams if you've got the app integration. Really handy to use if you've got other third-party apps that you use often. The last feature on there is custom backgrounds. And I'm going to say custom backgrounds is something that everyone was rooting for as soon as people started working from home. There were a lot of people that moved to using Zoom just because you could have custom backgrounds on it, which I think is a bit extreme. But it is a feature that Microsoft has obviously rolled out recently. So you would have noticed in your custom backgrounds that you get a standard set of backgrounds from Microsoft. There are ways in which you can have your own photos uploaded to Teams. It is slightly a hacky way of doing it at this stage. You need to really know where to go and how to access that hidden folder in order to upload those images. If you do want to know, let me know and I'll find out and I'll give you that information. But hopefully Microsoft are going to bake that into the UI and make it easy for people to do that when they want to. How we're using it at CPIT is we've got our own little backgrounds with branding, corporate branding on it, similar to what we've got here. So the QR code that takes you to whether it's our digital culture survey or whether it's a link to our events page, things like that in branded the way that you would want it to look. So when you jump on video calls, you could pop that up as your background rather than using one of the standard built-in ones. To be fair, we've had so many people swap backgrounds. We've had the Simpsons living room, we've had the Starship Enterprise, we've had Doctor Who themes. Sorry, I'm going down science fiction and cartoons because that's what I like, but that's kind of the variety that we've had. Again, something that we hope will be made easier as we progress. That's pretty much it for what I'm going to cover on Teams. Again, like I said, if you have any specific questions, pop it into the Q&A and I'll get to them right at the end of this. Moving on to people. So number one, what is it? Because when I say people, I'm like, what is this people app? I've never heard of it before, didn't know it existed. And then we're going to look at what you can do with the people app. To be fair, everyone's used this at some point in their life because the people app is nothing but your contacts. So what is the people app? It's the contact management app. You've seen it in Outlook. It's available in Windows 10 as a standalone app, but essentially it's the address book in Outlook. It allows you to organize and link contacts from different email accounts, like it says on there. That's your central hub for anything related to saving people's phone numbers, email addresses, and what have you. So let's look at how you would get to it from the web. So we've used this yesterday as well, and the standard way of getting to any of these Microsoft applications is by going to office.com and then clicking into the app from there. So as you can see, I'm just going to click into that. I've got it saved as a shortcut. So I go to office.com. I've got a list of all my apps. I can go into all apps and that'll show me everything that I've got a license for. There's my people app. I click into it. And if you look on top, if you look at the address, it is going straight into my Outlook. So like I said, this is nothing but the address book or the contact section within Outlook. The interface is something that has been, it's evolved, it's changed so much since I first remember using it, and they've optimized it really for use on web and tablets and phones and that. But as you can see, when you click on a contact, you get contact details on the right-hand side. And not only do you get to put in, the standard contact details in there, you also get other things like about, organization, files, email, and LinkedIn. We'll kind of dig into this a bit in detail and, see what you can do with detailed shared files and email. So looking at the same example we had earlier, if we look at Alex here, clicking into this, you see first, obviously, all of these tabs that you've got up here. If I click into about, you get Alex's profile information, which, all of you can edit using your own Office 365 profile. If I go into organization, that's the same org chart that we saw before in Teams. Again, you need to have this information in Active Directory for it to pick up and display this. Otherwise, you'll just get a little unknown option there. Under files, you see any recent files that you've shared or Alex has shared with you. So anything you've been working on recently, files and email attachments, you'll see under the file section. You can filter this by type as well. So that's a nice little handy feature. You can go into email and it'll show you any recent email conversations you've had with them along with any attachments that might be in those emails. And the last thing you can do from here is you can actually go start chat. So as you can see, it's going to open Teams and drop you straight into a chat with Alex. So all of these products basically, link into each other and you can launch one from the other, and that's the beauty of it. If we then go into Angel, for example, Angel is an external contact and I've only got a mobile number and a job title. So all the other fields, as you can see, are grayed out. If we go to Bob, I don't have a contact number for Bob, but all the other tabs are active because I've got an email address for Bob. So if I had email conversations with him, when I click on email, that would bring up my email history with Bob. It's really a nice way to, find information fast. If you're looking for specific, interactions with a person, you can go into this from the web. Again, like I said, this is available within your Outlook app. It's a nice and easy way to kind of get contact information and become a power user of the People app. It's nice and easy, really. That's really the only thing there is about the People app. Not the last one, but the other big one that we've got on here is Outlook. Again, I'm not going to teach you how to use Outlook. I'm not going to tell you what it is because probably everyone on this call has used it. So let's jump straight into some of the tips and tricks that I've got here. We're going to learn how to drag and drop emails into contacts, calendars, and tasks. We're going to learn about delayed send, and then two little nice features that I like are quick parts and quick steps. And then we're going to learn how to create and manage polls. Drag and drop emails. So the first thing that you will notice is that the standard interface obviously has your mailbox with the little tabs down the bottom left corner. And you've got your email, calendar, contacts, and tasks, which are your standard icons. Now, you might have customized this, so apologies if this looks slightly different on your interface, but rest assured, you can get all of these tabs in your Outlook. So say we had this email from Litware software subscription and we want to store this as a contact. I can just drag this straight onto my address book, and there you go. It's created a contact card. It's dropped the content of the email and notes. It's filled in all the details, name, email address, and all of the fields in here. If the user had other information, it would pull all of that across as well, but at least as a bare minimum, it's going to bring in the user's name and the email address. It's a nice, easy way to create a new contact rather than having to open an email, copy the name, paste it, copy the email address, paste it, or do it that way. The next one is how do we drag and drop and create calendar appointments. So this email here, what you're talking about, we're talking about, meeting in the lounge on Fridays to talk about sport. Cool, let's do that. So drag that into calendar. There you go, it's created an appointment. And the only thing it doesn't do, and it's not clever enough to pick that up, is to assign the right day and the time for it. So you still need to manually do that. So let's just set that to 5 o'clock on a Friday for half an hour. Set the recurrence. Yeah, I don't want that to end because I like doing this. So pop that in there, save and close, and then it's going to bring the content into the notes section again. And there you go. So that's done. The last thing there is how you use that to create tasks. So look at this email from Henrietta, and she's talking about reviewing the progress of the project plans and then see what's going on. She wants to schedule a meeting on Friday at 9 a.m. So what we do with this, same thing, pick up this email. Oh yeah, the email was sent with high importance. So, that's one thing that we want to make sure that we keep that. The meeting at 9 a.m, drag it into your tasks there. And the first thing you'll notice that the task is marked high importance. So it's picked up that, which is good. It's dragged the content into the body, which is what we want. Again, you do need to start, you do need to assign start dates and things like that. But then with tasks, you can then assign, whether it's in progress, it's completed. You can assign other priorities if you wanted to, set reminders, and then sort of edit, save and close, and that'll create that as a new task. So quick, easy way, drag and drop, create contacts, create calendar appointments, create tasks just by dragging and dropping emails. The second option there is delayed send. So obviously delayed send is something that I use quite often, and the reason I use it is not because I like to, schedule things ahead of time, and I'm certainly not that organized. I don't claim to be. Basically, at CPIT, we have an email curfew. So we're not allowed to essentially send emails between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. It's an amazing way, and it's one of the things that I love about it. It's a great way to force you to switch off and give you that, work-life balance. And it works. It works 99% of the time, except, I might be out doing something and I've had a really stressful day. I've been working on something and a problem has really eaten away at me all day. I haven't been able to find a solution. And all I really needed was to get away from my screen and let my mind do its own thing, and then I would get what I was looking for. So I've walked away and I realized that, 10 o'clock at night, hang on a second, this was really easy. This is what I need to do. If I get this extra piece of information from my colleague, that'll solve the problem for me. So rather than sort of going in and sending them an email at 11 p.m. and disturbing them, what I will do is I'll set up my email and I'll set it to a delayed send and send it at 7 a.m. So when they wake up and they log in, that will be the first sort of thing that they see, when they log in. They can get onto it straight away, and by the time I've logged in and started my work day, because they might be an early riser, they might have a reply ready for me, and that'll help me solve that issue straight away. So I've used this time and again. So I'll just quickly show you how that works. Now, ignore the bit that says this email will self-destruct in 5 seconds, because I am going to tell you something about email expiry, but it doesn't work like it does in the movies. The email is not going to burn up, or it's not going to disappear after 5 seconds. There is a feature in Outlook where you can set message expiry, but I'll tell you a little bit about what it is after I've shown you this. So let's say I need to email Diego, and I want to delay when this message is sent to him, but then I also want to set expiry on it. So I'm going to compose an email to Diego, but I'm going to then go into the message options. So up the top here, I'm going to go into options, click into delay delivery, and then within here, I've got the option to do not deliver the message before, let's just say I don't want it to go to him before Friday, 5 p.m. and I want it to expire on Friday, 5 minutes after he's read it, or 5 minutes after it's been delivered to him. Going to hit close on that and send. And what it does is it drops that message into my outbox. So as you can see, it's sitting there in my outbox. It hasn't sent yet, and it will actually send it the time that I've told it to go to him. It will also expire 5 minutes after. So ignore where it says 5 seconds after you receive it. It was actually 5 minutes. It'll expire 5 minutes after he receives it. And when it expires, it doesn't delete out of his mailbox. It simply puts a strike through. So it just puts a line through the email to say that the message is expired. Now, why would you need to use that? So one of the use cases I've used this in the past is I was sending client updates and I needed to do it, I think it was like 2 or 3 times a day. And there was one that I sent out at 9 a.m, another one I sent out at 12, and another one at 3 p.m. I was collaborating with one of my colleagues on sending these updates because he was working on some of the slides, I was working on some of the other slides, and there was certain content that I needed to send him for the first update, so for my 9 a.m. update. So I would attach that content. It didn't need to go into the presentation, it didn't need to go into the slide deck, but I needed him to review that separately. So I would put that information in an email to him at 9 a.m, or an email that was delivered to him at 9 a.m. But then I would set the expiry on that email to be 11 a.m. because the next one was going to be sent at 12. And what that meant was that if he then looked at that message after 11, he would realize that the content in there was irrelevant and it already expired because it was relevant to the first email that was sent out. So then he would know not to use that content in the second update that was sent out. So that's kind of how I've used email expiry in the past. Moving on to quick parts. So what does quick parts do? Now, this is something that might be used for things like mail merges or messages that you need to send to people often. It's like using the autocomplete feature on your phone. So you know how you can save certain short words and they'll expand to a full sentence and things like that on your phone. You can do something like that in Outlook. So you can set certain text to be a quick part, and then you can just insert quick part. So for example, if I want this to be a quick part, I go into Insert, Quick Part, click on it, save selection to Quick Part Gallery, give it a little name. So call it Treasure Map. That's my treasure map to roll toilet roll, and then save it. And it means that the next time I'm writing an email, I can go straight into a new message, click into the body, insert quick parts, and then click the treasure map from the library, and there you go. So I don't need to retype the same information again and again. Now, you'll find other applications and other users for this, but for demo purposes, this is a nice and easy way to show what quick parts does. Similar to this is quick steps, not along the same line, so not in terms of copy pasting content, but in terms of helping you do things quickly. So quick steps is something that is already shown on the default screen within Outlook. If you kind of look up here on the quick steps, so you've got certain options you can move to, and you can choose which folder. So if you want to just click on an email and quickly move to, you can set up a folder, and then as soon as you click the move to quick step, it'll move it. You can say to manager, so if you want to forward messages to your manager, as long as your manager is set up and it's picking this information up from that same place, Active Directory, it'll forward the message to your manager. Team emails, the same thing. Again, members of your team, it'll pre-populate all the members from your team, and you can click that team email and send it to people. There's a few other options in here, but what we want to do is create a new quick step. So let's just give it a different name. So we're going to call it reply with meeting. And then you can choose different actions on what you want to do with this quick step. So my aim here is to reply to an email with a meeting request. And so I'll set that as my action. I can also give it a keyboard shortcut key. So if I really wanted to use my keyboard and not have to click anywhere, I can assign a keyboard shortcut to it. But there you go, it's created this quick step. So say Henrietta has sent this message and we want to reply to her with the meeting. All I do is click on that and it's going to drop you straight into a meeting request with Henrietta. You'll still need to apply, your start times and dates and recurring options if you want to, but it's a nice easy way to create these sort of quick actions and quick steps. Saves you having to manually kind of do this on each and every email. I'm sort of looking at the time and we've got 12 minutes. So I'm going to see if we can breeze through Yammer a bit, but I'll give you an idea of what Yammer is. So Yammer is, like it says on the screen, this is basically Microsoft's blurb on how to define Yammer, but it's a corporate social network. So you get all the standard things that you would see in a social network, Facebook, showing my age, MySpace, whatever. But things like using the discovery feed, joining groups, joining conversations, attaching media, files, photos, videos, praising someone, using polls to crowdsource feedback. The main question that people ask is why use Yammer over Teams and to an extent over Outlook? And this is a great place to introduce this loop model that Microsoft have got. So what they're talking about is inner loop and outer loop and how you use different apps to target different loops. So the inner loop is people that you work with regularly. So this is, people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis and I need to have quick interactions with. And for that purpose, I use Teams. The outer loop, which is Yammer, is people that I need to connect to across the entire organization. So this is a more broad scope. This is a wider group of people that I don't necessarily deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it's not going to be a real-time sort of interaction, but this is more, I want to send a question out into my company's ether and maybe someone out there knows the answer. They might be able to help, but they're not people that I connect with daily on a team, or they're not part of my direct group. So Yammer is kind of the tool to allow that. Email kind of sits between them and bridges those loops because it is, in a way, it's targeted communication, but you could target inner loop with direct point-to-point emails, or outer loop, which is those dreaded, reply all emails. So let's give you a quick tour of Yammer and how that works. Same way to access it through the Office link. We click into Yammer, and what can you see here? So you've got a Home tab, a Messages tab, a Notifications tab. The Messages tab has got any messages or questions that you've sent to people, any activity that you've done that's got you tagged in it. Notifications will just show you all the notifications. You can also see all the groups down the left. You can create your own group if you want to, or find groups that are already set up in the organization. And then right at the bottom, you've got private messages. So this is similar to the message tab that you've got up the top, but focused in direct sort of PMs that you might have sent. Status update. So, everyone's familiar with these. This is a status update, nice and easy. It doesn't let me post it until I put my target audience in there. So status updates, they need not be all company, but if you want to do an all company update, there's your place to do it, and it tells you that that update is for all company. You can also ask questions, and same sort of deal. You'll need to specify the group that you need to send these to, or set up a poll. Where do you want to go for lunch on Friday? Or praise. So this is the other one. You can praise groups of people. So, for example, if my team have done a cracking job, I can pull Nesta, Isaiah, and Diego into here and say, great job. Yeah, great work yesterday. And then as soon as I finish typing, I need to do the same thing, which is pick my group of target audience, which is all company. I want to make sure I shout it to everyone. So I pick that and I post it. Now what you'll see is that when I do this, it also CCs those individuals, so they see that notification come up as well. Last thing there is announcements. So if you've got any company-wide announcements, that's where they will go. The other thing you can have is company resources. So again, these are just URLs, hyperlinks, bookmarks, whatever you call them, to websites that you might need. And then you've got a wall, if you can call it that, or your news feed, whichever term you're more comfortable with. And you can choose, to filter it. You can see if posts were sent to all company or specific groups. As you can see, there's GIFs in there, so people can upload media content. There could be videos in here, and essentially it works like any other social network. So that's a quick sort of whistle-stop tour of what Yammer is and what it does, and when you would use it. Kind of brings us to the end of all the content that we were going to go through today. I'm going to kind of go to upcoming events. So just before people go to questions, what we've got coming up. So we've got 2 more of these Power Hour sessions, the presentation Power Hour tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you how to make pretty presentations because I'm not a graphics designer, but I will tell you how to use products more effectively. And then teaming up with Steve for that last one to talk through data, AI, and automation. And following on from this, we've got a Power Apps targeted hackathon. So the audience of the hackathon is slightly different. It's people that design and develop Power Apps, so slightly more technical than any of these sessions. But we're going to be talking with Chris Huntingford from Microsoft, and he's going to tell us how to design your own wellbeing Power App for COVID-19. It's something that we've got in-house. It's something we use within CPIT, and we're going to show you how you can design your own. Cool. All right, Q&A. Let's have a look at some of the questions that have come through. What have we got? All right, so for drag and drop emails in Outlook to create contacts, is that only applicable to the Outlook client, or does that work on the web as well? Really good question, and I must say it's not something that I've tested, but let me just give that a quick whirl while I've got you here, and see if it'll let me do that. Now, the thing with the web versions of a lot of these applications, so you can use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of these can be used in the web, as can Outlook, but they are cut down versions of the desktop product. So there will be certain features that might be missing, and from a quick test here, yeah, it's not available in the web version. So unfortunately, the answer to that is yes, you do need to have the full Outlook app in order to do it. You can't do it through the web version. The next one here, Outlook email expiry, does that work for people using other clients? Yep, you've hit it on the head. Unfortunately, yes, both ends need to be Outlook. You need to be using Exchange in order for this to work. So I don't think this works with other clients, such as, I don't think it's to do with the mail client that you're using. So you could have a third-party client for accessing Outlook, but if you are using, like you've said in your question, Gmail, or you've got a third-party mail service provider, the expiry might not work with that. So no, good question there, because the sending of it definitely can be delayed because that's happening at your end of the network, if you can call it that. It's happening at your email server, so the delayed send will definitely work because that relies on you. It's the expiry that doesn't work, and it's probably the same reason why things like when you use recall email, that's not something that is guaranteed and doesn't always work, because it does rely on the end user. It does rely on the client or the platform that they're using at the other end. So unless people start, being nice and sharing this sort of platform information between Gmail and Microsoft and what else you've got out there, probably some of these features will be restricted. Still going to wait on a few more questions, but I'm going to go through the form responses that you've put across. So let's have a quick look and see what we've got in here. Cool, we've got 10 responses, so that's good. Let me just have a quick look at the results on here. So do you currently use Microsoft 365? 10 out of 10. Excellent, good to hear. How would you rate your knowledge? So the average rating is 2.9 out of 5, which is great. I mean, we are targeting people that have used all of these applications. We're not targeting end users. And if you think that your knowledge is 3 out of 5 and you're more than halfway on that spectrum, that's excellent. If you need to get those extra 2 stars or 2.5 stars, we're here to help. We can certainly achieve that. In terms of which apps have you used, I'm just going to go through the ones that are still on 0. So Delve and Sway seem to be the ones that have scored 0s, and fair enough, because they aren't that widely known or used, but hopefully when we go through them, they might sort of make an impact, and you guys might find a use case for some of those, especially Sway, because I find that it's a great way to present information. In terms of what people have used the most, it is the To-Do app, which is good because it does mean that people have been, using that either on their mobiles or on tablets, and that it is a great app and it's really well designed. Personally, I use it all the time, and sadly, I use it more for personal to-do lists rather than my work to-do lists. But I use it for grocery shopping all the time. So it is a great app, and the ability to share lists with other people is a big tick for me. People know about My Analytics, so that's good. People have been using Planner, so there's 3 out of 10 that have said they've used Planner, which is good. Yes, it isn't as fully featured as Microsoft Project, but it was never meant to be. It's meant to be something that you can use, to compete against things like Trello, because it does give you that sort of view that most people might not get from just using tasks. What are you hoping to learn from today's sessions? Expand general knowledge, get an insight into apps and other handy hints. Someone said anything, which is good. Well, hopefully you've taken something. More about the move from Office 365 to Microsoft 365 and the new additions to the suite. So yeah, hopefully that bit was covered off at the beginning. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us again. Pop an email across to hello@CPIT and we can look into it further, or just jump onto our website. All right, I'm going to quickly move back to questions and see if there was anything else on there. Nope, nothing new. And look at the time, we are 3:59, so you have actually got a full power hour out of it. Excellent. Well, just clocking on 4 p.m. now, so thank you again very much for joining us. You know, there'll be more sessions to come tomorrow and the day after. And yeah, that's it for now. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.